Attica the Riot, the Bloodshed, the secrets still hidden today. Subscribe now for more authentic crime tales. Remember to like, share, and engage with us in the comments below. The uprising begins in the early morning hours of September 9, 1971. An alarm sounded through the Attica Correctional Facility in New York, signaling the beginning of one of the deadliest prison uprisings in U.S. history. Tensions that had simmered for years erupted as inmates seized control of the facility, taking 39 staff members hostage in a desperate bid for justice. The atmosphere was a volatile mix of adrenaline and fury as shouts echoed through the prison yard, an unsettling herald of chaos. As the world outside remained unaware, inside those walls, inmate leaders emerged, demanding improved living conditions, better medical care, and an end to the brutality inflicted by guards. The facility, overcrowded and understaffed, was a pressure cooker, ready to explode. But what would ensue over the next 4 days turned into a horrific bloodbath, with the events leading to both bravery and tragedy etched into the annals of history. As negotiations unfolded, the New York State government deliberated how to regain control, unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the horizon. The cliffhanger, as a tense standoff drags on, whispers of betrayal begin to rise among the inmate leaders, hinting at cracks in their unity. Would the hostages survive? Would the state intervene aggressively, leading to bloodshed? The backstory: a powder keg of discontent. Attica Correctional Facility originally opened in 1931, intended to house a maximum security population. However, by the late 1960s, it had become the epitome of prison overcrowding, holding nearly 2,200 inmates despite its capacity of only about 1,600. The structure itself, a relic of a bygone era, was both intimidating and oppressive, comprised of concrete walls and barbed wire fences that only intensified the feeling of isolation. When considering the routine inside Attica, it was starkly apparent that a lack of resources contributed to rising tensions. Inmates lacked access to basic human needs, decent food, hygiene products, and medical care. The oppressive heat and overcrowding created a breeding ground for violence. Daily routines consisted of monotonous schedules punctuated by lockdowns and unpredictable searches, while officers struggled to maintain order, often relying on force. The early warning signs of unrest had been ignited by various factors, including the assassination of civil rights leaders and a broader societal advocacy for inmates' rights. Many inmates felt the world outside was beginning to change, while they remained locked in a cycle of despair, suspicion, and discontent. As days turned into weeks, whispers of discontent echoed through cell blocks. Inmate meetings became organized, allowing them to voice grievances and plan for a future where dignity was recognized. Yet the authorities remained dismissive, seeing these gatherings as mere murmurs in a storm that had long been brewing. Tension reached a boiling point the summer before the riot when the prison reduced recreational time and increased punishment for minor infractions. The atmosphere became charged. Friendships among inmates deepened, while fear of retaliation from guards increased. As the date of the uprising approached, the sense of unity among inmates grew. Leaders emerged, including a charismatic figure named Frank "Big Black" Smith, who played a significant role in rallying inmates. As Frank sought to unify voices and demands, the discontent within the prison walls was palpable, resonating with a yearning for change and justice. Building suspense. The evening before the uprising, the atmosphere grew taut, with nervous anticipation in the air. Inmates were restless, and many began to sense the impending storm. Guards, aware of the rising anxiety, opted for a strategy of intimidation, ramping up pat-downs and searches, further igniting anger. A pivotal moment occurred during a routine incident in the dining hall, where a guard's heavy-handed approach to a minor altercation ignited a larger conflict. Words spread like wildfire. Today would be different. In a meeting that evening, Frank led a gathering where the decision to act was made. As they plotted their course, hope mingled with fear, and they recognized the risks they were about to take. The countdown began, setting up the chaos that would unfold with fatal consequences. As the chapter concludes, the tensions are poised to erupt, culminating in the shocking takeover of Attica. The fate of the hostages and the responding authorities intersect, setting the stage for an unparalleled conflict that would leave scars on the American prison system and society for decades to come. The takeover as dawn broke over Attica Correctional Facility on September 9, 1971. It was just another day, or so it seemed. But behind the steel bars and concrete walls, a critical decision loomed. Frank Big Black Smith and his comrades had taken the extraordinary step of initiating the takeover. The air was thick with adrenaline and trepidation as inmates braced themselves for a confrontation that would redefine their lives. The uprising unfolds. Just after 9 a.m., inmates overwhelmed the staff during breakfast. Using makeshift weapons fashioned from stolen utensils and materials, they took control of the dining area. The guards, caught off guard, were quickly subdued. What began as a fight for survival soon transformed into a larger protest against the conditions they had faced for years. Within minutes, inmates commandeered parts of the prison, barricading themselves in the dormitories and taking approximately 39 staff members hostage. The urgency of the situation escalated rapidly as they demanded better living conditions, medical care, and an end to abusive practices. The sound of clanging metal echoed throughout the facility, punctuated by shouts of liberation and cries for justice. The realization hit hard. This was not just a riot, it was a marked declaration against oppression. Hostage negotiations began. As news of the uprising spread, state officials scrambled to respond. Governor Nelson Rockefeller was informed that a crisis had emerged, and he soon faced a daunting choice: negotiate with the inmates or resort to forceful measures. Meanwhile, on the prison grounds, the hostage-takers established a makeshift government, complete with leaders to facilitate talks. Inmates started negotiations with the help of external advocates and family members. Among various demands were calls for an independent investigation into prison conditions and for the release of certain inmates. Tensions ran high. Each interview and interaction served to escalate the stakes. In a chilling moment, an inmate announced, "We are not criminals. We are human beings and our rights matter." This statement resonated through the halls, drawing attention both within and beyond the prison walls. The pressure builds. As the situation unfolded, the psychological pressure escalated for both inmates and hostages. The authorities, unsure of how to proceed, attempted to buy time while strategizing their next step. The media quickly caught wind of the situation, broadcasting live coverage that showcased the struggle within the confines of Attica. Meanwhile, the atmosphere inside the prison grew increasingly volatile. Some inmates began to lose faith in the negotiations, fearing betrayal by others. The fragile alliances formed during the uprising began to show signs of strain, teasing potential internal conflicts. Frank Smith, a dominant and vocal figure among the inmates, worked tirelessly to maintain order within the ranks. He encouraged patience, reminding everyone that they were fighting for a cause that transcended individual grievances. "If we falter now, we lose everything," he warned. External forces. Outside the prison, pressure mounted on the state to intervene decisively. The governor grappled with the political ramifications of the situation, weighing the implications of both negotiation failures and violent confrontations. As daily reports filtered in, public sympathy for the inmates grew. Many viewed their demands as valid and justifiable. The looming specter of violence hovered. An uprising could lead to bloodshed on both sides. Discussions were rife about storming the facility and forcibly retaking it, a decision that terrified families of both inmates and staff still held inside. Shifts in dynamics. The next significant turning point arrived as tensions within the inmate coalition became palpable. Frank's leadership was challenged by others who saw the stalemate as an opportunity. Details of potential betrayals began emerging, undercutting the unity that had propelled the takeover. As the chapter comes to a close, the situation hangs precariously. Inmate leaders worry that the expectations set during negotiations may prove impossible to meet, and rumors of the governor's plans for intervention create an urgent sense of dread. With time running out, both inmates and authorities brace for the violent confrontation that seems inevitable. As the sun rose higher on September 10, 1971, Tensions within Attica Correctional Facility escalated to a boiling point. The initial days of negotiation had sparked hope, but the pressure of uncertainty weighed heavily on both inmates and hostages alike. With every passing hour, the gulf between expectations and reality widened, amplifying fears of impending violence. A fragile coalition. Inside the prison, Frank Big Black Smith and his fellow leaders struggled to maintain solidarity among the inmates. Discussions about strategies shifted toward mistrust as rumors festered. Some inmates questioned Frank's leadership, expressing frustration over the slow pace of negotiations and wondering whether their situation would truly improve. The atmosphere became a cauldron of emotions, raw anger, fear, and desperation coalescing. Inmates began holding clandestine meetings, debating whether to escalate their demands or prepare for a more violent confrontation with the authorities. "We're running out of time," one inmate whispered. This was supposed to be a fight for our rights, not a death sentence. Meanwhile, the hostages were kept in separate areas, anxious and uncertain about their fate. Some were allowed limited communication with inmate negotiators, but many were subjected to verbal abuse as tensions escalated. The promises of humane treatment made at the outset began to erode under the weight of anxiety and fear. The role of the media as media coverage intensified. Visibility into the crisis at Attica grew. Television crews broadcast images of the prison's exterior, framing the story as a struggle for justice versus a system fraught with violence. This public exposure shifted the narrative, applying pressure on the authorities to respond decisively. Inside, inmates monitored news reports, processing the growing support from the public outside. They felt seen, their voices amplifying amidst the chaos. Propaganda murals were painted on the prison walls, voicing poignant demands for justice and reform. However, this attention also heightened the stakes. The authorities could no longer negotiate indefinitely. It became increasingly clear that a decisive resolution was mandatory, whether by negotiation or force. Whispers of betrayal. Within the inmate ranks, whispers of betrayal permeated the discussions. A faction of inmates grew increasingly impatient, believing that prolonged negotiations would only lead to further injustices. Rumors circulated that some inmates were willing to turn on Frank and the leaders, stoking fears of a split within their tenuous alliance. In a tense meeting, Frank addressed the growing discontent. "If we start turning on each other, we will lose everything. The outside world is watching, and they want to see us fail," he implored, trying to rally the inmates under a common banner once more. The governor's decision. Meanwhile, outside the prison walls, New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller grappled with mounting pressure. As reports of internal conflict reached his ears, it became increasingly clear that a military-style assault might soon be necessary. Concerns arose regarding how to execute such an action without losing more lives, especially those of innocent hostages. Planning escalated as state police and correctional forces strategized on how to take back control. The security perimeter tightened. Drones were deployed to monitor movements within the prison, allowing authorities a clearer view of the unfolding drama. The moment of decision. As night fell on September 10th, inmates began to prepare for a possible confrontation, bracing themselves for an outcome they feared but couldn't avoid. Lines were drawn, and arguments erupted as frustrations boiled over, causing inmates to square off against one another. In a defining moment, Frank gathered his allies for a final discussion, weighing the options before them. He questioned whether continuing the fight was worth the potential bloodshed. "What are we fighting for?" he posed to the group, seeking clarity amid the chaos. The answer would determine their next course of action, affecting not only their lives but also those of the hostages.